Hi, hello, namaskara. Welcome back to UVC Chronicles, brought to you by UVC Graduates Association. Life is all about taking chances, trying new things, having fun, making mistakes, and learning from it. I'm Shrinidhi from third year Electronics and Communication Engineering, and our guest for this episode is Mr. Vishnu Govind from the batch of 2005 Electronics and Communication Engineering. I welcome you, sir.
Namaskara. Hi, thank you for that.
Once a great man said that the secret of getting ahead is getting started. So, without further ado, let's start this episode. So, I welcome you once again, sir. Actually, we would love to hear a first hand introduction of you. So, can you please give a brief introduction of yourself?
Hey, so hello to everyone and Namaskara. Namaskara. Hello. My name is Vishnu Govind. I studied at UEC from 2001 to 2005. I was part of the Electronics and Communications batch, and I have a lot of fond memories of the college. I'm a native of Kerala, brought up pretty much in Bangalore, so you can call me a Bangalorean for all practical purposes. And yep, I mean, my passion is software engineering, if you can call it that. Yeah, it's a surprise, maybe for some, may not be for others. Though I've trained as an electronics engineer, most of my work is actually on the software side of things, uh, which seems to be mostly the case with a lot of people. Which we might touch upon those later in this conversation, but yeah, that's about me. And I I currently work at Advanced Micro Devices as part of a team that makes hardware debugging solutions. So, in a nutshell, yeah, that's about me.
Yes, sir, it was a nice introduction. We would like to know how was your life at UVC and like you graduated in the year 2005. So, how was life at UVC like 2 decades ago?
Wow, 2 decades, huh? Almost. I feel old, man. I don't feel old, but now that you put it that way, I really, looking back, yes, it's been a long time. And life at UVC, okay, there are every coin has two sides. There are two ways of looking at things, but overall I would say it was a very good learning experience, not only in terms of engineering, because engineering is not the only thing you learn at UVC. You also learn a lot more. You learn a lot of skills that you don't easily get to learn in many other places. uh, for example, I would say you learn to do things on your own and not just simple things. I mean, things that are probably far simpler to do in other places, but in UVC you will have to go a long way, do a lot of things. I mean, uh, there are processes, there's bureaucracy, there's red tape. Not complaining, things have been that way for a long time. It would be nicer, and maybe it is better already, but it teaches you patience. It teaches you how to deal with different people, how to get work done. You know, when you have to deal with different processes, go through it, like filling out a form. You might have 100 steps to get something done, which may be much simpler in a different institution. And of course, as part of that, you actually learn how to deal with people, how to get work done. When your goal is to get something done, not about getting stuck in the red tape. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I have from UVC. And of course, there's also the network you make at that level. That kind of stays. I mean, I would say I'm still in touch with a lot of my friends and batchmates, not only from electronics. A lot of my batchmates from UVC. Maybe not as often as I would like, but yet, yes, I am in contact with them. And I'm proud to say that I all of them are doing really well, and I'm so happy for them. And they're all doing so well. Some of them leading their own companies, some of them doing some path breaking research, and others, just they're like doing something probably unrelated to what they learned, but still doing great at what they are doing. So a lot of interesting people you'll meet. So yeah, at UVC I was um, where do I start? um, Maybe the first day, when we were all sitting in line for getting our admission, talking to the principal and getting in there. then the orientation day when came in and we sit through a nice long lecture where we're told about what the college offers. And of course, after that, there was a lot of other things, the labs, the engineering drawing lessons, whatnot. A lot of fun. I mean, maybe as we talk, Srinidhi, you may be able to, you know, bring out some more of those memorable times, and I can touch upon them. So, back to you.
Yes, sir, definitely. And I completely agree on the fact that engineering is not the only thing that we learn at UBC, and I think nobody can disagree on this that UBC will teach you a lot of things, and it'll teach you some of the most important life skills, that will help us in the long run. So coming back to fun life, right now we have two fests in our odd semester and two fests in our even semester. So how was fun life back then at UVC? How many fests did you have?
We had one major fest, Milagro. That was the one we used to have. There was one fest we had in a year, and that used to be the major thing where we used to spend all of our time on. Yes, there were smaller fests, but the college fest as such was a single one. And yeah, that used to be the one for which everybody used to uh, be running around arranging things, getting stuff done, going to other colleges, inviting them. It was fun. I mean, that's an experience. So as I said, see, the network that you build is not only within the college. You build a network outside the college too. But yes, that's the fest was just one. Yeah, we used to have Galis Gurus come and perform at once. I think one of those years we had them, and yeah, we had a rock fest. At least there was a rock band that would play at every fest.
That was nice to hear, sir. And Milagro is actually coming up on 5th and 6th of May, and it's going to be awesome. And we all are really, really excited for that. Sir, how did your work life begin? Can you take us through the journey of you into the corporate world?
Interesting question, and interesting for multiple reasons. For one, it starts at the college. I was part of the placement cell. I was a placement coordinator, one of the placement coordinators, and Infi was one of the first companies that came in for campus placements, and I made it into Infi. I worked at Infosys for a year. There was a campus placement I got in. We trained at Mysore, then further trained at Hyderabad, then went on, worked at Singapore, came back. That was a learning experience because what happened there was you go in as a college student. It's kind of a continuation of your college experience, but at a much rigorous pace for the next 3 or 4 months when they put you through training, and then they let you loose. You're basically doing your own thing on a project, and of course there will be mentors guiding you and stuff. And well, I learned a lot in the year that I just spent a year at Infi, so I spent a lot learning there. And then I moved on to work in a different domain altogether. So there I was working on the banking backend. So we were supporting a bank, so we were maintaining their backend infrastructure. And when I was like, I wanted to do a little more than that. So after a year, I decided to move on. That's how I ended up looking for a job, and I found one. This was at a company. It was at that time a small one called Relational Systems Group, RSG Media. They were based in Gurgaon, and they were into the on-air ad sales domain. So I worked there for like close to 5.5 years in that domain. So on-air ad sales, IP licensing, and stuff like that, which was interesting. So they were in Gurgaon, they were headquartered in New York. So after about 3 or 3.5 years there, I moved to the New York office, worked there for a while, and I had the itch to come back to India. So I was back here after that, and that's when I interviewed with AMD and I started working here. And AMD was something that sort of a dream company, I would say, for multiple reasons. I've been a fanboy from college days, so let me be very honest about that. Never ever spoken that out loud anywhere else before this, but yes, I've been an AMD fanboy before. While in college times, I remember one of our fests, AMD had sponsored the entire gaming competition. So they had come, they had given us some machines. We set up the LAN and everything over there for a big, nice gaming party, and it went on very well. It was a very memorable event that we had at that time, and of course, AMD was the underdog at that time, and it was so for a very long time. And you know, supporting the underdogs was something that I think many of us did at that time, and we had this soft spot for AMD at that. It still continues, I would say. And when AMD said that they would like to hire me, I was more than happy to get on board. So that's how I ended up joining AMD. And since I joined AMD, I spent close to 8 years working at AMD, mostly on hardware debugging and different kinds of things. So there again, it's a domain shift from what I had done so long. Not so much in knowing what different terms are, but more in terms of processes, and also about the specifics of what is being done within the company. Because coming from an electronics background made things much easier for me to understand, because I could see that certain things are not easy for somebody who's never had a background in electronics to understand. For example, PCB layouts and the terminology used in that. Well, that's something that not everybody in software has to deal with it, but being a hardware company and being the software arm of a hardware company and the kind of projects that I was part of, we had to do all of this, and I found that it was simpler for me because of the background that I had in electronics. After that, I decided to take a break. I moved abroad, where I worked on a whole different domain altogether. I worked for another product company there called PDFtron, who were into making SDKs for PDF, dealing with PDFs. You can create PDFs, read PDFs, display, annotate, do anything you want with a portable document format. So I worked there for about 2 years, and then again came back to India, and was looking around, and AMD was happy to have me back, and I was happy to be back here again. And so here I am with AMD again, and still doing hardware debugging. But yes, doing a lot of new things in the same domain and having fun doing it, if I may add.
That was really interesting to listen to that, sir. Sir, you have worked across different domains. So earlier you were in IT, then RSG Group, and now you're in the semiconductor industry. So what are some of the key learnings that you have taken from working across all three domains, and also what qualities that an individual must have to excel in every domain that he or she goes to?
Very interesting question. Programming or coding is probably the simplest part of what you do at the job. It is the knowledge of the domain is far more important, and knowledge of the ecosystem is even more. That's what adds value to what you do at a place. So knowing how to write a program or how to solve a particular thing or knowing an algorithm is only one small part of what you're trying to do when you are at a job, because the job is not just that much. Maybe initially, see that this is in the initial years when you're at a place, at an organization, spend your time, learn whatever you can. Do not shy away from any opportunity that comes your way. If somebody puts you up to a challenge, accept it, take it up, do it. It's okay to fail. It's absolutely okay to fail. At least most companies with an established process will not penalize you for failure at that level. That's not how things work. So when given a problem, try to solve it. See, and never shy away from asking questions, because that's another very important thing I've learned. You don't have to do everything on your own. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. A lot of things is already done. Try to leverage what exists and create a solution that you need. Whenever you face a problem, the end result you're trying to do is solve that problem. How to solve it Yeah, well, you need to put together multiple things, maybe in different ways. You'll have to try, you'll have to experiment, and hopefully you have the luxury to experiment in terms of time and resources. But yeah, never stop asking questions, and focus on your domain, whatever domain you are in. Learn that. I mean, understand the specifics of that domain, and that is going to serve you much more than anything else, because that will allow you to conceptualize how a solution for that domain should look like. That is something very important. The next thing that you need to understand is, uh, technically, you can, once you start getting an idea of how things work, you know you need to learn to be assertive. It's something that affects a lot of us, is that we are pretty shy in terms of, when somebody says, hey, this is how things should be done, we probably just accept it, we take it and we walk away, we do it. But challenge questions, challenge the status quo. If somebody says this is how it should be done and you think there is a better way of doing it, you don't have to be argumentative, but you can always raise a question and ask, hey, why can't we consider this? Is there any issue if we do it another way? If you think there is a better way, always voice your opinion. If you do not voice your opinion, it's never going to be heard. So voicing an opinion doesn't mean that you always get your way, but it always makes sure that your opinions are heard and hopefully considered before a decision is taken. And you also feel empowered that way, right? Your voice is considered in the decision making process, and you also grow that way, because maybe you don't have a full view, but the full perspective of what's being done. But the moment you ask the question, if there is a flaw in your reasoning, there will be others who know better, who will point this out to you, and who, most probably in a gentle fashion, they will explain to you why that may not be a feasible solution, or why that may not be a feasible approach. So if you know something's right, go ahead, voice your opinions, understand, learn. I think that's what I think I have understood so far in my career, and I try to follow that, and I hope that my 2 cents helps anyone else out there.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. There was so much to learn here. I hope the audience are really, taking notes of whatever you're saying. Sir, you were an electronics student, now working in software domain. Like you said that, the prior knowledge of electronics that you had really helped you to, climb higher. Sir, looking at the practicality of today's world, there's so many opportunities in the IT and the software sector. So, what's your advice on choosing the right career?
So here's what I would say to that. In the first few years, learn whatever you can. And the practicality of today's maybe situation has not changed way too much from what it was when I finished engineering, is that at the end of engineering, most of us are looking for a job. At the fresher levels and everything, it's not just for AMD, for any company for that matter. I think what matters more is your attitude and aptitude. Of course, your skills matter, but your aptitude and attitude also make a big chunk of what gets you hired. Whereas somebody who is 5 to 7 years experience, if they are being interviewed, there's a lot more technical detail that can be tested and checked and probed. Whereas with a fresher, that's just not the case. So when a fresher is being interviewed, it's more about the potential that they have. How in the future, when you're looking at a person, you're not looking at how they are today, especially as a fresher. You're going to look at how are they going to be 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, right? That's what you need to look at too. Think of it as you are marketing yourself, and be honest about what you're looking for, because that probably makes it much simpler for everybody in terms of making a decision. Find something that you really enjoy doing. If you do not enjoy doing your job, I don't think you will really do well there. That's not how it works. I mean, you're going to be doing this 8 hours a day, and that's like 1/3 of your life. 8 hours a day is going to be sleeping, 8 hours a day is going to be work. The rest is the time you have for yourself. So 1/3 of your life is gone in sleeping, 1/3 of your life is gone in working. Only 1/3 is remaining to do what you want. So if the 1/3 of work is something you enjoy, you make your life so much simpler for yourself. Do what's right by you. Don't look at others. Don't look at, see, hey, that guy got a job here, that this guy got a job in something else, he got a high paying job doing that, somebody got a job that's not so high paying. Doesn't matter. The first few years, do not focus so much on the money. Money is definitely an aspect, but that should not be the only driving factor. Go with your gut. Do what you like to do. If you think this is not meant for you, look for a change, find something, explore. Look, you have a 30 or 35-year career ahead of you. A 2-year delay in choosing the right approach or the right path for you is not going to make a big dent in your career. Take your time and choose what you want to do and enjoy doing that. I'm sure that you will cherish the rest of your career doing what you enjoy doing, rather than day in and day out cursing yourself for getting into something that you don't want to do.
Thank you, sir. That was very inspiring, and I think we all have learned something here. So I think we have come to the end of this podcast. Thank you, sir. That was really an insightful session. I hope the audience have learned a lot of things. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you all the audience for listening to this episode, and stay tuned for the next one.